Come on. Do I sound like I'm joking? Do I sound like I'm playing? When you look into my eyes, you understand what I'm saying? Let me say it to you slowly, and it may sound scandalous. I don't think that you can handle this.
All right. Once again, we are on. I am the MoJoKing. He is the great Donnie Oooh. We are Hidden Gems Football. This is the Super Bowl edition. How are you doing today, Mr. Oooh?
All things considering, I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, Mo?
I'm going to say I'm doing great because in this take, I'm doing great so far. We'll see how it goes.
That's a plus.
All right. So this week, as I mentioned, we are doing Super Bowl LVII, which is
Super Bowl 57.
My man knows his Roman numerals. The Kansas City Chiefs are facing the Philadelphia Eagles in Arizona. Philadelphia is a 1.5 favorite, and the total is expected to be 51 points. That means if you trust Vegas, Kansas City will score 24.75 points, while Philadelphia will have 26.25 in the victory. Looking at injuries. For the Chiefs side, there are some question marks. Well, this one's not really a question mark. Wide receiver McCole Hardman is out. He's on injury reserve because of a pelvis injury. But the Chiefs activated running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire from injury reserve. So in theory, he could be playing. I don't think he's going to get much action, but that's just me. Kadarius Toney has an ankle and hamstring injury, but he said he will definitely play in this week's Super Bowl. Meanwhile, Juju Smith-Schuster is listed as questionable with a knee injury. But Andy Reid said earlier this week he liked how Juju was trending, so I'm thinking he might be in. On the flip side, the Eagles come in pretty healthy considering this long season. One question they have is cornerback Avonte Maddox. He has been out for all practice reports. He may not play. Left guard Landon Dickerson is practicing, but he has a brace on his right elbow. So knowing that he's an offensive lineman, he's definitely going to play. But, they're taping his arm together. And then right tackle Lane Johnson said there is no doubt that he will play. He's been playing since both playoff games, but he has a groin injury. So we'll see if he pulls his groin during the Super Bowl.
Shoot. What a week leading up to it. Pelvic injuries, groin injuries, hamstring injuries. Look like they've been doing a lot of, training, so to speak.
Right. And, there's a 2-week party in the city until the game time. So we'll see how it goes. All right, Donnie. What do you think is going to happen in the Super Bowl?
I think I remember saying last week that no matter how annoying these Philadelphia Eagle fans have been, and no matter how much that I do not really believe in the Eagles, that they've been tested along the way, that something inside me was like, it wouldn't surprise me if I chose them to win. Well, it's been 7 days later, and guess what? Times have changed. I personally think that Kansas City, specifically Mahomes, with an extra week to recuperate off that high ankle sprain, and Andy Reid, who has always been somewhat unbeatable coming off any type of bye week, and the fact that Kansas City still has that bitter taste in their mouth from their last Super Bowl appearance where they got ran over by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even though different situation because their offensive line was in shambles then, and we were like in the heat of the pandemic. I really believe that motivation, everything added up, that motivation is going to provide Kansas City with the will to get this game, to really win this game. I mean, personal thoughts aside, I think there was a stat. The Eagles had 70 sacks for the year, and that was second only behind the 1984 Chicago Bears, which I believe had 72 sacks for the year. But coincidentally, that's not the team that everybody always talked about when it comes to Chicago. They won the next year. And I really feel that the experience of having to deal with such a depleted offensive line that rendered Kansas City's offense null and void, pretty much new to Patrick Mahomes against Tampa Bay 2 years ago, will provide that much more experience on how to protect him now. I think somehow, someway, they're going to neutralize that. And as much as people have been jumping on the Jalen Hurts bandwagon, I'm not one of them. I mean, I think he's a good quarterback. I still think there's a couple levels he can go above. And if you think about it, if you go back to college, Jalen Hurts has never really performed that great in the big game. Remember when he was in Alabama, the legend of Tua came to fruition because they had to pull Jalen Hurts out the championship game and put Tua in just to get that game, just to win that championship. We fast forward to when he transferred to Oklahoma. And I believe he didn't do a great job at Oklahoma when they got to that bowl game. And then we fast forward to last year where, nobody expected them really to put up a fight against Tampa Bay in the wild card game. And guess what? They didn't put up a fight in the wild card game. So I think we have ample evidence. Yeah, and I know this is furthering my narrative, but we have ample evidence that Jalen Hurts just does not rise to the occasion when it comes to these big games. And Super Bowl 57 is classified as the biggest game. In some parts, because you can't say Super Bowl, it's classified as the big game. So with all that being said, and that my long-winded way of saying Kansas City, that would be my pick.
When I dove in a little bit deeper on just the seasons that both teams had, I was left with a lot of questions about Philadelphia. And when I say questions, not that I think that they're bad or I think they're less than their record is, just that I'm not sure. Because we talked last week about how this playoffs proved nothing because they haven't really had a challenge put in front of them. But when I looked at most of their season, it was kind of the same thing. They faced Aaron Rodgers. Dak Prescott was the best part of the best passing offense outside of that they faced. Like, I mean, Cousins in week 2. I don't know. It's just been a that guy. He almost got me to curse. Anyways, so but
one of these days I'm gonna get you.
I would have loved to see them tested against a top quarterback and see how well this defense does. I'm not really including any of the end of season things because Gardner Minshew was quarterback and that changed the whole dynamic of the squad. So I don't even care about those last couple of weeks. They ran over pretty much everybody that they faced. But I think this is a different type of test. Meanwhile, like you mentioned, and I mentioned last week, I think Mahomes will be just fine with his ankle. I think it will still affect him some. But as you pointed out in the part that I ended up editing out, it may not hurt him to be stuck in the pocket.
I knew something was missing.
I was wondering if you had caught that. Like, I think Mahomes would be fine. I think this game should be close. I think Kansas City will be playing for it to be close. I don't know what happens when Philadelphia is in a close game against a top-notch team. So, I'm leaning Kansas City. I think I'm going to bet the game just because it's the Super Bowl. So I'm going to bet Kansas City. With that said, I honestly can say I don't know what to expect from Philadelphia. If Philadelphia won by 2 touchdowns, I wouldn't exactly be stunned. I would be stunned if Kansas City blows them out because I don't think that that's what Kansas City is doing with this team. But I think it's going to be a close game, and I think Kansas City is going to be able to pull it out at the end. All right. Do you have any feel on the over/under 51 points?
My gut is telling me to go under, but the way my gut feels after drinking this coffee, I think I'm gonna go over. I feel like Kansas City's best opportunity to win is to increase the pace, and meaning get as much possessions as possible and score on these possessions. So that would lend them to, even if it's just field goals, like a combination of field goals and touchdowns. Shoot, what? 3 touchdowns in the field goal, 24 points. So if you get a couple more possessions, maybe a long field goal at the end of the half, something like that, I could see them pushing that over. Yes, Philly's defense will have a big say in that on trying to keep it under. But like I said, I feel, being the fact that I'm picking Kansas City, I think Kansas City's best chance is to get into the high 20s, and that would push it over. Because, like you just said, Kansas City's not blowing anybody out, so it's going to be a close game here and there. And I would go to over.
Interesting. It's weird. I kind of disagree with you on that aspect, because I feel like I can see Kansas City getting the upper 20s, but 27-23 still puts them under. I think Kansas City has a better shot if it's under. In my head, I want this game to be like 38-34 and real exciting and touchdown after touchdown and just excitement.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
I don't see that happening at all. I think this is going to end up being a little bit of a slugfest. And I'm leaning on Kansas City winning a slugfest. If you give the Eagles the confidence that they think that they're as good this week as they've been all season, I think they might end up steamrolling Kansas City. So, so to wrap all of that up, what I'm really saying is that I think Kansas City is going to win, so I'm leaning under. I'm not making the over-under bet. If I happen to think Philadelphia was winning, I would actually bet the over.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So you're saying Kansas City's best chance is to keep it in the low 20s.
Yes. Thank you. That was very long-winded of me, and you just said in one sentence.
Go figure. I'm the one that usually goes like far, and then shoot. Do you know reason why episodes sometimes take a little bit longer? Because of me. Because I took like 20 minutes, and just now I clarified his point in like 5 seconds. Ain't that something?
But you know what's going to be cute? I'm going to cut out all my stuff, and you're still going to be the longer one. So there you go. All right. Now we're going to talk prop bets, but there's something that a Twitter friend, rapper Patty Honcho, he put up a poll, and I thought that it was a great question, and I want to ask you this question. On January 30th in 2000, Steve McNair ran for 64 yards in Super Bowl 34, if my numerical understanding is correct, against the St. Louis Rams. Do you think Jalen Hurts goes over 64 yards and breaks the rushing record at this Super Bowl?
It's funny that you asked that question, because I was contemplating how much for a prop bet that I was going to put for Jalen Hurts rushing yards. We've discussed in the past that we feel like Jalen Hurts still is more of a threat with his legs than his arm. I understand, which go at their record. I understand he's grown leaps and bounds, but regardless, the reason why they're in this position is for the threat of him running, even if he does not choose to run. And I think I did say, like, in the 2 postseason games, he's thrown for a combined total of less than 300 yards in the 2 postseason games. But the question is, do I think he's going to break the record? No, I don't. You can have 2 trains of thought. One, you could say, well, they've been holding him back the two games prior to this to make sure that they can get to this opportunity, and now they could just pretty much take the reins off and let him fly. Yeah, that's possible. But this is one time that I will lean on the expertise of Steve Spagnuolo, the KC defensive coordinator, to make sure that if anybody's going to beat him, it will not be Jalen Hurts running ram shot, up and down the field. So no, he will not. And shoot. On top of, I really do not want to see the Empire State Building in green, and it's not this green. So yeah, all that being said, no. Heck no.
Yeah, I think for him to break that record, he's going to have to break off a super long run, which is possible. He definitely has the talent and ability to do it. Um, I would have to think that Kansas City is basically going to have a spy on him, and like you said, he is the guy that you can't let beat you. So I just don't see it happening. I was actually surprised that but I hadn't really gone through in my head the catalog of runners that have been in the Super Bowl. But I was kind of surprised it wasn't a little bit higher as far as the record.
Patrick Mahomes, in a lot of his playoff runs, he was getting like 40, 50 yards rushing just on scrambles.
Right. And I mean, that's more in line to why I was thinking like Steve Young or John Elway might have done something more than that before. But it is. All right. Let's get into the props. All right. So, see, I still got the ticker working. All right, I got one more hurdle to get through. We'll see if we can make it. Okay. There should be prop bet for that. All right. Because the Super Bowl is all about prop bets. What do you like, Donnie? What are you leaning towards?
One of the things I was leaning to, based on information that I might be swaying away from now, was Jalen Hurts. One of his prop bets was plus 125 for going over 54.5 rushing yards. And I was leaning toward the over. I don't know why, because that just kind of messed up my whole theory back then. But like I said, I'm the parlay guy, and I gotta get these odds up. But I'm looking right now on Super Bowl specials on DraftKings, right? And one of the big ones that I might just put some coin on, plus 3,500. Any offensive lineman to score at least one receiving touchdown. You know, just like I know, what team would have the best possibility of an offensive lineman scoring a touchdown, because they do all types of zany formations, zany, which called passing plays. That would be the Kansas City Chiefs. So, yeah, coincidentally, just for the fact that this is really right off the top of my head, that's a very interesting prop bet that I'm thinking I might put $5 on. So because like I said, this is something that Andy Reid is right up Andy Reid's playhouse. That's probably why it's on the list. So yeah, that would be my prop bet that I would take a chance on, because like, why not?
I could see that. Yeah, because Andy Reid does like to experiment. And I think last week I had something about Sky Moore as far as getting over 20 yards rushing. I just bet it because, again, Kansas City likes to do weird stuff. So, like I said, my stuff is much more standard. I would say take a look at the different sites and try to find the best odds that you can to get a little bit more of an edge. But the first thing I am looking at is Jared McKinnon under 20.5 yards rushing. On DraftKings, it is minus 110. It's really interesting because on DraftKings is the only one that seems to be leaning over. The other sites are leaning towards the odds more likely of it happening under. I think this is an advantage for bettors here. McKinnon hasn't really been carrying the ball that much these last couple of weeks. They've pretty much put it in Pacheco's hands and been like, all right, you are our bull. But to tell you the truth, they haven't been rushing for many yards anyway. So they like McKinnon out the backfield. He usually catches his little screen dumps or his little short passes, and he runs in for touchdowns. That's what had been doing the last few weeks until these last couple of weeks. I think if they're going to get him the ball, they're going to get him it through a pass. So I like him under 20.5 rushing yards. I'm going to go to DraftKings. I'm going to bet that as soon as we're finished with this pod. All right. Do you have another one?
I still lean toward Pacheco. I believe, darn, I done lost it. But up until the championship game, I believe he was on a streak of 10 straight games in accumulating more than 50 yards rushing. So, of course, when I put some coin on it, he had like what? I think he ran for less than 30 yards on under 15 carries or something like that.
Yeah, I think
on
it
a
was
game
26
that
yards.
I think my mindset going into that game was that Kansas City was going to lean on the run, and then Mahomes threw for 300 plus yards. So that just goes to show you my luck when it comes to betting right now. But anything with Pacheco, I would lean over for the 50 yards just for the fact that I still think they're going to be so keyed on trying to stop Mahomes very early. I think Pacheco would have a chance to accumulate some type of decent yardage in the first half that'll lead him to getting over that 50-yard mark. So that would be I'm going to ride that until the wheels fall off.
All right. With me, I'm going with the Kansas City bet 2 over. This one is MVS going over 36.5 yards receiving. Now, my theory on that is that when I looked at Philadelphia's losses, their best receiver always had a big game, and it was almost always because of a long reception. CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin, those guys had big games when they lost. I think they're going to take a couple of chances deep. The most likely man to do it is Van Scantling. So I'm going MVS over the 36.5. I'm actually just hoping that he gets a big catch and it happens. Now, last week, he actually had a few catches. If he gets a bunch of them, he end up being almost their possession receiver. Outside of Kelsey, of course. But if he's going to get multiple catches, I really like it. But I think it's going to be one bomb, get me over that. And on Caesars has the best odds at it at the moment. They're minus 108.
I have a question. Even though I'm a better, I'm partial to like one platform, and that's DraftKings. Like for me personally, because I mean this might be divulging too much information, but I catch the fever very quick. So to keep myself pretty much disciplined on the amount and how many bets I put in per week, I stay on one platform. But for somebody more disciplined, such as yourself, which platform? Yeah, I know. Listen, more disciplined than moi. Which platform would you recommend out of, let's say, the three? You have Caesars, you have FanDuel, and you have DraftKings. Which one would you lean toward, especially this coming week, dealing with the bets?
All right. Well, I have those, and I have BetMGM, so I have 4. I think most people like FanDuel. I do not. So FanDuel is probably the one I use the least. That and BetMGM, I just don't like their options there. To me, the ones I like and the ones I will clearly look at very quickly are Caesars and DraftKings. Now, if I am patient enough and doing the right thing, I will actually go look at all 4 of them and just take the best odds, not even worry about where it is.
Okay.
But if I'm in a rush, the DraftKings and Caesars are the 2 that I look at. DraftKings, I'm just more comfortable on the platform as much as anything because I play fantasy almost exclusively on there. Out of the 4, Caesars is probably my favorite app just as far as betting, but I'm just on DraftKings more, and my money is sitting on DraftKings usually because I'm playing fantasy. That's the answer to that. For me, most people I know seem to like FanDuel the best, and I hate it.
Yeah, me too, because I put a promo code in the beginning of the season. Matter of fact, because I listened to the Michael K show on ESPN New York, and they had a commercial for FanDuel. And, I'm trying to all right, shoot, I could just go ahead and get a free $150 bet off a $10 minimum, whatever. I'll do that, right? So they had they had promo code Peter. So I put in Peter. Do you know I didn't get my free bet? And that was the first time I ever used FanDuel, ever. And then when I contacted customer service to let them know, look, I didn't get my free bet for putting promo code Peter. You know what they did? They never responded.
Well, since we're bashing FanDuel, you actually reminded me why I kind of hate them and why I don't bet there. What happened with them was I did the same thing when the XFL started. The problem was At the time, you couldn't bet in New York.
Oh, I remember
So I
those
just happened
days.
to take a trip to New Jersey. Just
Yeah, I
happened to.
remember.
Just happened to.
Journal Square, right?
Yes. Just happened to be there. And
Yeah.
I did it for my bonus. The original bet lost, which was annoying, but you got back whatever you had originally bet as far as the bonus at the time. Still, I'd have to go to Jersey to bet again, right? I was like, I'll wait a couple weeks. Donnie, do you remember what happened a couple weeks into the XFL season?
Oh yeah, pandemic. The pandemic closed down.
Yes. Do you know that FanDuel took away my bonuses because they said I had been holding it there too long? Now, granted, they did that after the pandemic was somewhat over,
Yeah, okay.
but I was supposed to be traveling over to Jersey. No. I didn't even want to come out my house.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I think since then I've been a little bit salty with as far as FanDuel, as far as betting.
Sure.
Plus, they've done some grimy stuff on fantasy, but that's a whole nother story. We're not going to get into that.
No.
Because we're still waiting for, because I'm going to have to delete this whole thing once we get our FanDuel endorsement. All right. I don't know if you have one more. I do have one more. So I have this final one. And this is another thing that I'm saying that I'm just puzzled with Philadelphia. It's crazy being through this whole season and feeling like I'm completely puzzled, but I really am. A.J. Brown all season was running over teams. Big plays, big catch totals, big yardage. He has done nothing in his first two playoff games. So there's two things as far as A.J. Brown goes. They have his expected total at 71.5 as far as reception yards. I am leaning towards the under because he hasn't done anything the last couple of weeks. I understand how talented he is. I actually need him as far as my NFBC teams to do something so I can win some big money. But because I tend not to win that big money and because just what he's been doing lately, I tend to lean under. But I'm actually not interested in betting that as much as I'm interested in betting this. And this one's is definitely riskier, but the odds are better. A.J. Brown receptions under 4.5. If he gets 4 or less on BetMGM, you're actually getting positive 120 money. I think I'm going to bet that and just see if he stinks it up again. So now the thing is, I feel like if he stinks it up again, at least I will be like, I'm happy I won this bet. If he goes crazy, I may win some big cash over there, in which case I would still love A.J. Brown. So suck A.J. Brown, I love you. Go off A.J. Brown, I love you. Just don't be in the middle. That's all I ask. All right, Donnie, what do you have a final fourth pick?
Okay, to piggyback off what you were saying about A.J. Brown and which go his receptions, I would piggyback at that with going with the under 4 receptions because I feel like that Kansas City's defense, if anything, they're going to key on A.J. Brown, and that'll open it up to Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert to get the majority of the receptions. But there is one, if off the top of my head, one prop bet when it comes to rushing, and that would be Kenneth Gainwell. Because while everybody's talking about Sanders and even Boston Scott to a certain degree, Kenneth Gainwell in these playoffs, albeit a lot of times it's been garbage time, but he's been ripping off 15-yard runs here, 10-yard runs here. And I'm like, where did this dude come from? So on DraftKings right now, they have Kenneth Gainwell alternate rushing yards plus 285 for going over 35 yards rushing. I think that's a bet that's worth taking because either way, I believe you're not really losing anything because they're going to be you're going to be ground orientated and they're going to do the 3-headed rushing. And if you're not going to get the yards from Jalen Hurts, and part of the reason why you haven't got the yards from Jalen Hurts is because of this dude. So yeah, plus 285 for going over 35 yards rushing. Yeah, that's a good bet.
All right. I will say this because one of the things that you learned about fantasy is that a lot of times you want correlating plays. So, in basketball, you want to get the assists and the points. And if you think guy's going to miss a bunch of shots, then you want to get the rebounds. I would say the same thing makes sense as far as going with prop bets. So now back to what I said originally when we talked about the over-under. If you think Philadelphia is going to win the game, Philadelphia is going to blow them out and score a lot of points, you couldn't be surprised if they end up doing something very similar to what they did these last 2 weeks. In which case, they let Sanders run, they get ahead, Gainwell takes over. I really like the idea of Eagles win, take the over, take Gainwell. What line did you have?
This is alternate rushing yards, plus 285 for going over 35 yards rushing.
All right. Gainwell getting 36 or more. Now, the thing is, you add those together, you got yourself a pretty decent payday. That's how I like to do my parlays when I do them. When I don't do my crazy 20-leg parlays because I'm trying to win $1 million on like a couple of the bucks. The reasonable ones, you got to admit, those are the fun ones. You lose all your money.
You always miss by one. You always miss by one or two. It's like, damn, I should have just put 18.
Got those green dots going, and there goes a red X. Unbelievable. All right, man. All right, before I kick it to you for the final stuff, I just want to say it's been a pleasure doing this with you this whole season. I wasn't sure I would like doing a football podcast as much as I do. I look forward to the off season when we have our ones that come in here and there. And I'm looking forward to season 2. We get to start from the beginning. Imagine how much I'm going to be talking about this Survivor stuff then.
Oh, man. Yeah, from the very beginning.
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be crazy. That's going to be crazy. You know, at least gives me a good off season to actually get a grasp on really how the survivor pools work. Because I think I joined one, and within like the third week, I forgot to put in a pick, and then I rejoined it because they had the second chance pool, and I put it in for a week, and then the next week I forgot. So, but that was a different person back then.
All right, you know, I think one thing I will remind you that you have to put yours in, if nothing else. Nothing else, I got you for that. All right, Donnie, I'm kicking it to you to sign us off for this season.
Yeah, which go I just like to say, but yeah, I look forward to the next season. Of course, we're gonna have our little quickies, during the off season with the draft and free agency, hopefully, you know. So that would be great. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not gonna get too much into it. Please, matter of fact, check out my podcast, The Salty Thoughts of Donnie Oooh. We finally reached the end of the road to 150. The 150th episode is out now. This is actually the last entity that you will ever see me go under the moniker of Donnie Oooh. For now, and especially next season for Hidden Gems Football, I will be me, which is Mike Steph. So yeah, for more in-depth analysis over why I came up with that decision, please check out The Salty Thoughts of Donnie Oooh.
Wait, hold on. I just want to interrupt for a second.
Yeah.
I completely forgot that I was supposed to say that. Please check out my man's 150th episode of The Salty Thoughts of Donnie Oooh. It's the end of an era. 150 episodes. He's been doing it how many years? 4?
June would have been 4. Well, June will be 4 for the podcast, but right. Yeah.
And I mean, it's the end of an era. It's a little bit sad. All right, continue, my brother.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so yeah, please check that out. And I will be remiss without going too much in depth. Matter of fact, not even mention it, just say this episode to me is dedicated to my son, Nakai Lewis Steffens. That's, if you've noticed throughout the podcast or throughout the YouTube, I wear this, and this is a basketball. And this week be 2 years since he passed away. So this episode is dedicated to my son. And yeah, so, not to get too much into it, but once again, check out the Salty Thoughts for more in detail of what's going on. But with all that being said and done, I can't believe this is the last episode. Yeah, this is crazy. So, Hidden Gems football has been a great ride. And let's see in about a month or two after the draft. But Hidden Gems football is a part of the 19 Media Group. Bye, y'all.
Appreciate y'all
immensely.
This is a 19 Media Group presentation.
With the first pick in the 2016 BGR NBA Draft, the Nets select Nakai Lewis. BGR Sports. I'm here with Nakai Lewis, player of the game. He scores 31 points in the victory against Wichita State. Tell us about your performance tonight.
I mean, like, my team was just feeding me the ball. I felt hot, but at the beginning of the game, I was trying to get the ball up, moving around, my team into the game. Then late in the game, I seen an opening, so I just took charge.
All right, your team is now 2-0. Talk about your team's performance in the first 2 games.
I mean, the first 2 games, I told my teammates, let's just push it. Every chance we get that fast break, make every layup, don't cause a lot of turnovers, and just took over.
All right, this summer you won a championship. Now you in the NCAA 2-0. What else is planned for you in this future? What are your goals?
Well, my goals in the future right now is to get ready for this UPS job and to be able to be a father. Good father at that. So we'll take it one day at a time.
All right, congratulations. I'm here with Nikai Lewis, player of the game, 31 points against Wichita State. Congratulations and thank you.